video tutorial, we're going to go over a fairly complex video editing technique. It's called motion tracking. And we're going to figure out how the camera moves in a real video and then program this camera to move in exactly that way so that we can set up a 3D scene of 3D objects and have them appear as if they're really inside a video. So let's make it happen. First thing, we'll leave the default cube, but we'll scale it and make it much smaller and maybe bring it up just a little bit so it doesn't look like it's through the ground. Okay. Now, we need to have a specially prepared video that is ready for motion tracking, and I've done that already, so we'll go over here to Add Workspace, go to VFX and Motion Tracking. And now we should see the camera view, and we can see the cube, which is now smaller, so it's not taking that much space from the camera. Over here we click on the Open, and we will go through the video that we've prepared for motion tracking here. This is Mr. Camille, and he's sitting at the table with many dots on a piece of paper. We're going to use the dots to track a plane, and then we need to have something in three-dimensional space more than the dots, so I guess these chair wheels down here are fairly good for that. So what we need to do is first we click on Set Scene Frames. That will just set the length of the video, the length of the thing to the length of the video. We'll do prefetch, which will make things easier. That's going to load the whole video into the cache so that we're able to press play and not have to wait for it to load. And after that's done, the next step is going to be adding markers. And the easier way than clicking this button is to go, when you're about to click to add a marker here, which is a point that you want to track, you're going to just hold down Control on the keyboard and click. So you can zoom in and out on this image here and move around with 2 fingers. And you can click Add and click where you'd like to, or you can hold down Control and click where you'd like to. Now, click on each dot. Try to get it lined up nicely. If any of them are slightly off, you can use the G key to grab, like that one I just put is slightly off. I don't like that. And okay, so let's see. This one I want to fix. I'll just press G, move. And this one I need to fix. I'll press G, move. This one a little bit. There we go. All right, and we'll also do some chair wheels. So we'll Control, click on the wheel, but it's too small for this. So I'll press S to scale to be big enough that we get the whole wheel in here. Blender is going to be looking really closely at whatever's inside this box and trying to find the pixels that are very similar in the next frame. And if it moves in location, it's going to adjust itself. We'll do the same thing here. Scale. And same thing here. Scale. Okay, so we have all of our points in the appropriate place. We're just going to press A to select all the points at the same time. And then we can click this button here, which is Track Markers. It's going to track everything going forward from this point in the video. Since we're on frame 1 in the video, it's going to go through the whole video from start to finish and try to follow all of these markers. Now, we will lose these markers, and you're going to see. So we'll track. So far, everything is tracking fine. Nothing is lost. Oh, these 2 wheels are lost. 3 wheels are lost. Oh, we lost some dots. We lost many dots, and we lost all the dots. So by this point in the video, we didn't even get to the end, but we lost everything. And you can see if we drag this up, you can see how clean and solid some of these lines are, the red lines and the green lines, how well they're moving with each other. And then they start getting split apart or disappearing, and that is an indication that we have some problems here. So we'll go to the beginning, And we can just click and drag through and find when did we lose these dots, and if it's really a problem. In the case of the wheels, it's not a problem at all. The wheels go off screen. So those two wheels are fine. This wheel right here, I recall, went away a little bit too early. So we'll go to the frame that we still have the wheel. And you can use the right arrow and the left arrow to change the frame. So we go to the frame that we lost it, we click on the piece that we want to fix, and we click G to grab and move it. We can also scale it a little bit larger if it needs to look at a larger area. And then from here, we can click on, again, this button for the whole rest of the video from this point forward, we can ask it to track this marker. Or in this particular case, we know that the wheel's about to disappear, so I'm just going to go frame by frame tracking, which is this one. So it's just asking, can you track this to the next frame? Yes. I'm happy with that. It followed. Can you track it to the next one? Yes. Good. Good. I'm just going to keep clicking, and it's about to go off the screen. And well, it's holding on pretty well. Oh, because it's not off screen. There we go. Next, 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 next. And there we go. And that's fine. It's fine to lose it right now because we know it's about to go off. Let's fix these other dots then. So let's go back in time and find out when we lost a dot. Oh, we lost two right there. Zoom in, find out what we lost and why. Sometimes it just gets too fuzzy. Use the left arrow and right arrow to find out if we're on the right keyframe to set them up again, and then click on the one and press G to put them in the right spot. Now for both of these, I'm going to press Shift and click on this one too, so we have both of them selected, and I'm going to ask them to go all the way to the end of the video and track them. And they got lost again, but at least we made it much farther this time. See, we can scroll through the video and we can see quite a bit of tracking. In fact, only that one got lost at the very end there. Right here. And that's an easy fix. G, move up, and ask to track forward, and then track the rest. And that one's good. So that one held on. We just need to do that for the rest. Now that we've finished keeping all of the points tracked all the way until the end, including some three-dimensional points in the distance, we can move on to the next step of going to Solve and Solve Camera Motion. When you click this, Blender is calculating how the camera is moving in this video that would allow for these points to stay in this location. So you want to look here for the solve error number, and ideally the solve error number is around 2 pixels or less. So we have a very good solve error here of 0.76. That's pretty good. And then we are ready to move on to our final steps. So the final steps here is to go down on the solve menu here into the orientation area. You can click on 3 points that are all on the same flat area. And that's important that they're all in the same flat area. We're using this table with these dots, so we know that all of them are on the same flat area. But if you choose them farther away from each other, then it's more likely that you'll have a more reliable result. So I chose these 3. How to click them, you hold Shift and you click for each one. So now I have 3 selected, and I'm choosing floor. So I just set that as the floor. Now I can choose one of these points and set it as the origin of the world. So whenever the camera moves, it's going to put the center of the world here. And finally, we need 2 more options down here. In scene setup, we choose set as background. That now puts the video as the background of our camera. that's behind any 3D objects that we have in the world, and set up tracking scene will do everything, but it also creates a big plane. It looks like it did something bad. Kind of did. It put a big ground here, which unfortunately is hiding our video. So we can turn off the ground, we can delete the ground. There are some reasons to have the ground here for physics reasons, so I'm going to just hide the ground so we don't see it, and that's up there. And also I see that this cube is still a little bit too large, so I'm going to scale it down a little bit, and in the 3D world I'm just moving my cursor around. See how it's floating because I just scaled it and it went up too, so I'm just going to drag it down to get closer to the ground there, so it's a reasonable, maybe a little bit more. Might have been too far. Okay. So now that I moved out of video camera mode, you see that I no longer see Mr. Camille and the table because that's all inside this camera here. And I want to get back into the camera view so I can see what I'm looking at. So I go to View, Viewpoint, and Camera. And now I can see what I'm looking at in the camera. I'm going to move this down here so we have a better perspective here. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see. So now we have this 3D object inside our 3D Blender world, of course, and this box here is actually what the camera is seeing. So anything out of here is actually not going to be rendered at all in our final result, but the box, and with a little bit of tweaking, we'll be able to put this video in there too. One more thing, I don't like that the video is so gray. It's much brighter down here, and the reason is because in the camera settings, so click on camera, go to camera settings here, and see how it says background images, because what we just did over here turned on background images and put Mr. Camille in the background, but we have him set as 50% opacity. So let's turn him all the way up so that we can really see him. So now we see Mr. Camille, we see our box, and if we hit play, hopefully we'll be able to follow the box around as if it's really on the table. And what's actually happening in Blender space right now is that the camera is moving along this little black hairy line thing. And that's because Blender figured out, based on the motion tracking footage, exactly where I was standing when I was holding the camera. And now we're able to put 3D objects on the table and kind of walk around it as if they're really there. This has a lot of great applications in VFX world. There's a lot of cool things you can try. I encourage you to add animated characters here instead of a box. And I'll do that maybe in the next video as just a little follow-up.